All right, dude, I don't know if you've been paying attention over the last few months, but the world is changing. In fact, in the 13 plus years that I've been doing this thing at Location Rebel, I am not sure that I have seen more changing so quickly as it pertains to online businesses, freelance writing, blogging, affiliate marketing. The world is going nuts right now. So because of this, it's forced me to reflect on 2022. What are the things that went well? What are the things that haven't gone well? And think forward to 2023 and what comes next. What do I want to focus my time on? What do I need to do in order to make 2023 as successful as this previous year's been? So in today's video, I'm gonna peel back the curtain a little bit. I'm gonna maybe get a little bit more open, a little bit more honest about, my business and my life and my thoughts than I am in some of our other videos. But these are the 5 questions I am thinking about for the future. These are the 5 questions I am asking myself as it relates to my life, my business, moving forward into 2023. These are the things that I think I need to answer in order to continue making my business a success. So regardless of where you're at, whether you've got an existing business, whether it's freelance business, blogging business, affiliate marketing business, e-commerce, whether it's successful, whether you're just getting going, I think that these might be valuable to you. So if that sounds interesting, then keep watching. I think you're gonna enjoy today's video. Okay, question number 1 that I'm currently asking myself is, in what ways is technology threatening my business, and how can I turn those threats into opportunities? So over the course of the last few months, you've probably seen that AI has gone absolutely bonkers. Over the last couple of years, yeah, there's been, this thing floating out there as, services like Jasper and more recently Content at Scale, they've continued to get better and better. But for me personally, I have not found them to be any more useful, or they don't really help my personal process all that much. I can get better content in the same amount of time if I just write it myself. But that's not to say there isn't a threat out there. So you've probably over the course of the last month heard of ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is the newest AI model that is coming out, and I gotta say, it's scary. It is mind-blowing how good it is. You can enter a prompt and very quickly you are going to have human-level outputs that are very impressive. And there's still a long ways to go. A lot of the outputs are not factually correct. The output continues to rely on the quality of the input, but very quickly you can start to see how AI is coming along a lot farther than a lot of us ever anticipated, and it's gonna have a huge impact on the entire online world. So there are 2 things that I am personally thinking about as it relates to my businesses and how this could be a threat as well as an opportunity at the same time. Okay, so the first threat that I'm noticing is as it relates to freelance writing. AI is getting really good, so does that mean there's not going to be a market for freelance writers anymore? Is AI taking over freelance writers' jobs? Well, yes and no. I've always maintained that AI is a tool that is going to help freelance writers be more successful rather than taking over their jobs completely. That being said, services like ChatGPT have gotten so good that for that lower level of writing, yeah, you probably don't need to hire the $5, $10 an article person out of the Middle East anymore. You can just create that content yourself in ChatGPT, and it's going to be as good, if not better, than some of those lower level articles. But for higher level writing that's going to require creativity and require research, then ChatGPT is just going to be a tool that is going to help you as opposed to something that's going to completely take over those jobs. So if you want to continue to be successful as a freelancer, you kind of need to address, all right, hey, AI is a thing. I should probably learn a thing or 2 about it, see if it helps my process, and understand that it's out there, and I might have to adjust my approach a little bit. It's a useful tool, but in most cases, it's not going to take over your job. At least not yet. But it is a threat that is out there, and it's something to consider. Okay, now the second threat I'm thinking about relates to my content sites. So for instance, with Breaking 80, I make money via search. And what I mean by that is I do product reviews. You search for one of my product reviews, you find it, you click the link, you buy the product, I get paid. Well, now with some of these AI services, people are able to create massive amounts of content very quickly. So Google has said, we have algorithms, we can detect if something is AI written, we want to display the highest quality content we possibly can. And most of the time, that strictly AI content is not going to be the best. But people that are really good at SEO, people that are really good at online marketing, people that are really good at gaming the system, they can probably use tools like this to outrank me for a lot of the terms that I've been making money off of. So those 2 threats, the threats to freelance writing, the threats to content marketing, they're very real threats. But we're early enough, if you address the fact that, okay, these might be issues, but you say, okay, it's gonna happen no matter what, how can I turn these threats into opportunities? And that's what I'm thinking about doing. I don't necessarily have all the answers, but I have a lot of ideas for what that might look like for my business in 2023, and we'll talk about those in a future video. All right, second question I'm asking myself is, what systems can I create that will allow me to work smarter, not harder? So this is a tough thing for me to come to terms with, but I have never been a very efficient worker. I don't have tons of great systems where everything just falls into place and runs super smoothly. I still do everything pretty manually. I still do everything very inconsistently, kind of whenever I feel like it, and I've been very fortunate to have a successful business despite that. So as all three of my sites have continued to grow, they're all really needing more time and more energy to make them successful and help them live up to their expectations. So I'm starting to think about, okay, how can I create systems? How can I create a strategy? How can I get the right people in place to help me so that all of those are kind of running themselves, they're growing, and they don't need as much time from me on a day-to-day basis to make them successful. And so those systems, honestly, that's what I've been like lusting after. That's been like the holy grail for the last 13 years for me working online. And I'm finally at the point where it's painful enough to not have them, that the pain of not having them is going to be more than the pain of going through the process and sticking to the process of creating those systems. So that's what we're gonna see a lot of over the course of the coming month or two, is really figuring out what those systems are, what the strategy looks like, and how I can apply that to all three of my sites to make sure that everything's running smoothly, that all of our customers are being served, that all of our content is being put out there, and we can create the best user experience for all of our users, all of our readers, all of our customers across all of those sites. Third question I'm asking myself right now is, what am I creating right now that is urgent versus what am I creating that's built to last? So we're talking about kind of those content systems that I just mentioned in section number 2. A lot of that is going to be repurposing a lot of the content I've created and doing it in a smaller, more bite-sized manner. So we've shot over 300 videos here on Location Rebel. So how can I take segments of those and turn them into YouTube Shorts? Or how can I take some of those videos and turn them into Instagram Reels or content that I can use across different platforms? So the nature of all that content is kind of just urgent. The whole point is to stay in front of people on a regular basis so you're still top of mind. But I don't expect most of those shorts or most of those reels or most of that content to still be around, say, 10 years from now. It's a very timely, it's a very urgent thing. But if I'm only creating content that's urgent, that's not doing much to grow my business long term. So what are the pieces of content? What are the things that I'm creating that is kind of meant to stand the test of time? So I recently finished reading a book by Ryan Holiday called Perennial Seller, which looks at that very question, is what makes some books and some pieces of content last decades versus others that don't last, more than 2 days. So I think there needs to be a balance. I need to have that urgent content that helps make money, that helps stay top of mind, but you also need to have those more definitive pieces of content, the things that are going to stick around for years, the things that 10 years from now I can point back to and say, hey, that's still relevant. This is still useful. And so how do you create that really high quality, long lasting content in a world that is increasingly rewarding, superficial, short form, very fast, throwaway content that people just kind of scroll through and forget about 30 seconds after they've seen it? So I think there needs to be a balance, and I'm trying to figure out what is the best balance as it relates to my business, and how can I create more high quality content that's going to last while also creating content that people can consume on a shorter term basis and be excited about. All right, fourth question I'm asking myself is, if I had a $10 million business, what would I do? Now, I'm not gonna lie. I've been notoriously cheap with my business. I have not been great about spending money on things that I probably should spend money on. And on the one hand, that's really good because it means that I've got a very profitable business. But on the other hand, it means that I have limited my growth in a lot of ways where I probably haven't necessarily needed to do that. It's been my own fear, my own insecurity, whatever. So every time I'm asking myself a question about how should I do this, where should I spend money on this, I want to go back to the question of, if I had a $10 million business, what would I do? Because the answer that I'm looking for is probably going to be closer to what that person that runs a $10 million business would do versus what I'm doing for a business that's a fraction of the size of that. And that's not to say that's the thing I have to go with, but I need to be pushing myself outside of my comfort zone to be willing to spend a little bit more money or look at things in a little bit of a different way or treat my lifestyle business as more of a real business more than I've been doing over the course of the last 10 years or so. So I feel like going back to that question on a regular basis is going to allow me to look at what I'm doing as a real business as opposed to just this kind of like fun little side project that somehow has made me an income for the last 13 years. God, do I sound sick? Because I feel sick. I am sorry if this is a rambly or terrible video, but I wanted to get some of these thoughts out here. So I hope you're bearing with me. All right, finally, the last question I'm asking myself moving into 2023 is, why do I want to grow my business? And do I want to grow my business? So 2022 has by far been the most successful business year I have ever had. To put this in perspective, in 2009, I created some like long-term goals for myself, including a revenue number that was like, if I'm ever making this much in a year, holy crap, like that is it. I have hit the jackpot. It took me 13 years, but this year we hit that number, just barely, but we got there, and that's super exciting. And so the question I'm asking is, why do I still want to grow? Do I want to grow? Because the great thing about where I'm at and what I do is I can really do whatever I want to do. At any given time, I can do whatever I want to do. I don't have a ton of meetings. I don't have a ton of clients at this point. I don't have, people that I am held accountable to. I can do whatever I want. And that's pretty great. I think that if I wanted to, scale things, if I wanted to hire a bunch of employees, if I wanted to really grow, everything, whether it's with Location Rebel or Breaking 80 or whatever it is, I think that there's an opportunity to do that. But I don't necessarily know that that's the right move for me, because I have continued since 2009 to really believe in the idea of a lifestyle business where I get to have the time and the freedom to have the lifestyle and do the things that I want to do. And that's not to say I couldn't have most of that if I scaled up, but there would be a learning curve. And so I'm really thinking about why. Why do I want to do this? What would I like to do? Is there a middle ground? How can the systems I talked about earlier, keep me from having to hire a ton of people and having to manage a ton of people? And so I think that's a question that just kind of gets overlooked often. It's kind of the whole like Gary Vaynerchuk like hustle culture. It's like, you have to grow at all costs. You always must be growing. And fortunately, each of the last 3 years, 4 years, like we have grown every year with a big jump coming this year. But I'm kind of at the point now where it's like, if you told me that every year for the next 20 years, we could stay exactly where we were and we make exactly as much money as we made this year, then that is a great life for me. And I'm very content with that. Not to say I wouldn't love to make more, but I don't have a great why as of yet for why I need to. And so that's just a question that I'm pondering. And I think that it's a question that you should ponder as well is, why do you want to grow your business? Why do you want to start a business? I often tell people the most important question you can ask is why, because if your why isn't great enough, you're not going to have the motivation to follow through with something. So think about what that is. Really put some thought into it as opposed to just because I want to have more money. That's great. Really get to the intrinsic value of why you want to do something. And I think that's going to help you actually do it as opposed to kind of keeping it as a dream or something that may or may not happen in the future. So just something to consider. All right, with that, I feel like this was a super rambly video. I was literally bedridden yesterday, so we're just kind of coming out of everything, and hopefully I'm gonna feel better in the next couple days. I've got so much stuff planned for the new year, moving forward with Location Rebel. I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you. If you would like me to elaborate on any of the things we talked about in a dedicated video, drop a comment, let me know. I'll see what I can do. But with that, I hope you have an excellent day, and we'll see you on the next video. Peace.